Hello and a very warm welcome to Centrum Guardians 2013. This is about the remarkable work of the men and women in our emergency services. They never know what challenges the day may bring, but most probably it will involve life and death, as in the two stories in this episode. We're looking for the Centrum Guardian of the Year 2013, and you have a large part to play in making that award. Who inspires you to live life at 100%? Vote for that team or that individual. You can do that in 4 different ways: by SMS on 34020, on the website, on the Mobi site, or on Facebook. Your votes will count 50% of the total. The other 50% comes from an independent panel. Make a difference. Start voting today. After the break.
We weren't sure if we're going to do body recoveries or is it a rescue attempt.
I saw the other divers' faces. It dawned on me that this is serious, this is something else.
Saturday the 13th of October last year was not a day to be out at sea. There was a gale force wind creating swells of 3 to 4 meters. When rescue divers were called out to a capsized boat off Hout Bay, they knew this was going to take all they had.
The vessel has capsized off Takers Clip at Hout Bay, 50 people aboard and 6 missing at that stage. I immediately thought that it was a big problem. In the first place, for us to get there, because it will take us some time to activate everybody.
All local rescue divers were called in.
We immediately responded with our diving gear and our boats, and we speedily left the base for the Hout Bay area.
Because this was my first real live rescue in diving. So you know it's no longer training, it's a real thing. So you got to prepare yourself mentally and physically for what's about to happen.
Divers en route prepared for the worst. Meanwhile, local NSRI on the scene were able to pluck survivors from the sea. They were rushed back to base and treated for shock and hypothermia. They were the lucky ones. 6 people were still unaccounted for.
As a police diver, you're not really trained to rescue people. We are trying to retrieve bodies, to look for evidence underwater.
We weren't sure if we're going to do body recoveries or is it a rescue attempt.
I saw the other divers' faces. It dawned on me that this is serious, this is something else.
Then, NSRI volunteers reported a faint tapping from underneath the upturned boat.
When they said no people is still in the hull and they are still alive, things changed.
Now there were lives to be saved.
There were 2 NSRI volunteers sitting on the one side of the hull. They confirmed that there were people inside. That is all that we had to go on.
There's no more time for fear, there's no more time for hesitation because there's people's lives depending on you.
The upturned boat was caught in a current and being swept further out to sea.
The currents were terrible. It was like a washing machine under there. This thing is upside down, in water, it's difficult, it's dark.
And with the seabed about 50 meters below, it was dangerously deep.
The adrenaline is pumping, all I was thinking was, this boat might just go down.
They were in a lot of danger. If that boat sank that moment, if you're underneath the boat, you don't know if it's sinking, you will go down with the boat, and then it will be a whole different mission to get them out there.
The air supply in their tanks would not have lasted at those depths.
We physically had to hold onto the railings and pull ourselves and look for the entrance to the cabin. I then went in. There was lots of debris inside, life jackets, ropes, cameras, bags. I had a basic idea of where they were because of where the NSRI volunteers were sitting, and that is where I found the open hatch. I instinctively just went in there. I got as far as my shoulders because of all my diving gear. Once the boat pitched up, there was a little bit of light that came through, and that's when I saw the 2 sets of legs in this little compartment.
3 survivors trapped in an unlikely air pocket underneath the upturned boat.
left, all I could see was legs from the knee down to the feet. And I pulled on that, and the person actually pulled the legs out. So I had to make the decision, try and get this person out of that air pocket. So I took my spare demand valve, the little breathing apparatus, and I stuck it into the air pocket, and I pushed on it so that they could hear there was air coming out. To my surprise, this person actually took it. Had the demand valve in her mouth, and she was breathing quite nicely, so I was quite happy.
Fabian watched the gauge on his air tank slowly drop. He knew he was running out of time.
I don't have much air left, we need to get out. And I started pulling on the person.
On the surface, police divers arrived on the scene. They waited for reports from the metro divers below.
And then what felt like hours and hours, they came out with the first survivor.
She was still so fearful that she wouldn't let go. I had to call the NSRI guys to pry her off me.
The terrified woman was eventually coaxed into the rescue boat.
I was happy. I was extremely happy to get us to the top, and it was the first time that we've ever rescued a live victim from a dive operation.
When the first patient out, it was a relief, but at that same moment, we also realized there's 2 more other patients inside.
Police divers were briefed on the location of the 2 remaining victims.
At that stage, the weather changed a lot, and the conditions were really deteriorating.
And a normal police diving operation would not take place in that circumstances.
At that stage, I just asked all the police divers if they are prepared to dive. I cannot force them to go dive, and we just decided, right, we're all okay to go. Dive that we couldn't plan for, and I could foresee that somebody might actually get hurt.
I heard Captain PJ screaming to us, guys, it's 51 meters deep. If this thing goes down, get out. As there was no way on that depth and with the activity we were going to do, that we would reach the surface if we go down with that boat.
2 divers prepared to go into the hull, with the others on standby as backup.
First thing I can remember when I hit the water is the intense cold.
It was so disorientating because the roof was now at our feet and the floor at our heads. I forced myself into this gap, and then I saw feet, white feet in the water.
He communicated the find to his diving buddy.
And I indicated to them that, I see 2 people in the hole there. And he indicated to me, okay, it's fine, and he went to have a look.
I managed to get myself in there, but it's almost like you're stuck here to the shoulders. I got my head, broke through the surface of the water. And immediately there was people screaming, which caught me off guard because I didn't expect that. Without thinking, I took off my mask to speak to them, and immediately that fumes. My eyes was like burning, and I couldn't really focus. I realized, well, I must do something about the air there. And I purged. It's basically just pressing a button so that fresh air flows in there.
The terrified victims refused to budge.
I just froze, and I was just thinking, how are we going to get these people out?
Minutes ticked by with no word from below.
I couldn't get in. I couldn't get my equipment or my DV actually to them.
Ibn needed the 2 to follow him out.
Remember, I asked them, does anybody knows how to dive or have dived before? And they both said no. So I had to reassure them, listen, I'm going out now. Just stay calm, I'll be back just now.
They were screaming at me, please don't leave us, please don't leave us.
But they had to go to bring back help.
They came up and then said, listen, we've got a problem here. We all 4 must go underneath the vessel.
The plan was to equip the women and swim them out.
But it was easier said than done.
The women were tangled in ropes and unable to remove their life jackets.
I guided her feet down the hole, and I was gently pulling her down. And everything went to plan more or less.
And then everything stopped.
Paralyzed by fear, the women refused to move any further.
I started panicking. This is it, we're not going to get them out.
Now you're waiting. Now you must know that this is 10 minutes that is going past. And you don't know if something happens. This is the task that I'm here for. I'm the rescue swimmer. I'm the one that must help our guys if they get into trouble.
Under the hull, Eben made a critical decision.
I realized time was running out, so I decided there and then to take off my scuba gear.
Eben handed over his air supply and quickly surfaced.
When I hit the surface, for some other reason, I just got sick there.
I knew there was something going on, and I mean the fact that he didn't have his rig on, because that's one of the last things that you leave.
And he said, listen here guys, the fumes caught me, I'm tired, I'm a liability now. I said, Captain, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, you will do this, and you can do this.
Me and Ude and Nella did go back alone.
It's going to turn out one of two ways. We're going to get these people out, no problem, or we're going to die.
The women were still frozen in terror.
And listen, time. Our time is running out now.
So, to pull someone underwater with a life jacket, that was one of the big problems.
And every time we want to do it, then she like grabs. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to.
With not 1 second to spare, Gert forced the woman out.
I just grab her by the side, going down and out.
They immediately handed her over to the waiting NSRI medics.
Without basically saying a word, we just went down again.
The second one was like 2 or 3 seconds. It was so easy.
I just squeezed her hand, she squeezed my hand back, and I pulled in the water, passed over to the other guys, and we swam out.
I saw Gert coming through the railings with the lady in his arms, and I could see he was finning, but he wasn't coming up.
Douglas took the survivor from his exhausted colleague.
And the first thing that she said to me there was, don't leave me. I'm going to die, don't leave me. And I said to her, nobody's dying today, I've got you.
The survivors were in safe hands. The divers had reached their physical limits.
I just couldn't swim. The boat was so close, there was no way I could get to the boat.
I threw a rope to them and pulled them one by one towards the boat, took their rig and got them on board.
There was an absolute silence on the vessel. Everybody was on a high, but there was that eerie silence amongst everybody. Everybody was just sitting and staring, and I think they were like replaying the ordeal. I think that's what I was doing.
They know what to do, and nothing will stand in their way when there's a life at stake. If this team inspires you to live life at 100%, vote for them now. Use the word drive and choose any of the 4 possibilities: SMS, the website, the Mobi site, or Facebook. You can also use them all. Proceeds from the SMS votes will go to the team's base stations. And now it's over to Gerald for some advice on CPR.
Thank you, Ruda, and hello everyone. CPR is a very vital skill that each family needs to have. I strongly suggest that every one of us goes for basic CPR training. Tilt the patient's head back. If you have a mouthpiece, it's recommended that you use it. Put it in the patient's mouth, cover the whole mouth, and pinch the patient's nose and breathe into the patient. Remember to watch the chest. Once that is done, move over, lock your hands together, keep your arms stiff on the chest and the breastbone in line with the nipples, and you give 30 compressions per minute. There's about 2 compressions every second. Remember to wait for the chest to rise before you continue compressing. Okay, after 2 sets, feel for pulse again. Still no pulse, you continue doing step 1 and 2 until professional help arrives. And remember, it is vitally important that everybody goes for a basic CPR course. Thank you, and stay safe.
After the break.
That baby didn't say, listen to my heartbeat. It said, get me out of here.
It was a miracle.
A place of safety, the name given for Polokwane in the heart of the Limpopo province. On the 10th of August, a collision of tons of unstoppable steel seemed an impossible force to survive. In the hours that followed, emergency personnel would be faced with a once-in-a-lifetime challenge.
I came across one of the tow truck drivers who stopped me and said that I know about the train accident close by. Normally I would dispatch paramedics, being a manager. But I don't know, it felt like I needed to go.
Trusting his instincts, David Dennison headed for the railway line and called for backup.
At first, they just said the train accident. We didn't know exactly what was happening.
They were on the scene within minutes.
Well, when I got there, I found a car had been hit by a train.
You could see quite some damage to the vehicle. There was already, Mr. Dennison was on scene. You could see there was still one patient inside the vehicle, and then was one gentleman outside the vehicle.
I immediately went to go look into the car, and there I found a woman lying in the car. She had a big cut on her head.
David could not find a pulse.
And I said, "Tell me, is she pregnant?" And he said, "Yes, she's 8 months pregnant."
The possibility of the baby being alive was remote.
I went and I took the stethoscope and put it onto her belly to see if I could hear, you know, the baby's heartbeat, because it's a possibility. Of course, I never heard a heartbeat. The baby kicked the stethoscope. That baby didn't say, "Listen to my heartbeat." It said, "Get me out of here. I'm inside here."
And it was like a minute, like, is it real? Are we sure it's happening? Because that doesn't happen. Everybody's so amazed. And
the baby had a tiny chance of survival. Time was of the essence.
My reaction snapped. That's why I thought, okay, you know what? Now it's time to work. It was just simple. Guys, we need to get to hospital as in yesterday.
Used the spine board, and we slid the mom on the spine board and took her out.
we immediately started CPR. I put intubation, a pipe to help the mother just for some breathing, to get some oxygen to the baby, because the focus was now the baby.
The core function was to keep blood circulating through the lifeless mother so that the baby could continue to breathe.
We had minutes. It's not like the golden hour that you have in a normal patient, the golden hour that everybody knows about. In this case, we had minutes.
And then my priority shifted from the patient to the hospital, because I knew I needed to get there to start preparing everyone so when she did come in, we'd be able to immediately act on it.
Paramedics continued CPR in relays en route to the hospital.
We've got the escort of police and paramedics.
It was actually scary for me because I had to drive fast, consider the passengers in terms of the people treating the patient. I mean, mind you, they're resuscitating at the back.
Just have to try to create your own space, just to shuffle and say, if I can feel comfortable on my knees, on my butt, anything, just to be stable so that when they apply the brakes or maybe they accelerate faster, we don't have to bump anything.
The main concern was about the baby. And whenever I was driving, it was like, baby, 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 baby involved.
It was challenging, strenuous, stressful, but at the end of the day, lives have to be saved in that ambulance.
8 critical minutes had passed since the rescuers took action. At Polokwane Provincial Hospital, David was negotiating emergency plans.
When I got to the hospital, as per norm, it was chaotic when I started demanding everything then.
A visiting doctor on the scene took decisive action.
I said, no, give me anything. We don't need the sterility of theater. You just give me anything.
The emergency room was turned into an instant operating theatre.
They realized time was of importance.
They shifted the lady in the resuscitation room and they give me a knife and I cut in less than 30 seconds, the baby was out.
That was the quickest cesarean section I ever saw in my life.
The baby was blue and appeared lifeless.
For a moment, the baby came out like he was gone already.
When I was looking at Eugene, like, we've gone through all of this now, and the baby's not breathing.
They were determined to keep trying.
Eugene intubated, I started CPR on the baby.
And we knew we're not going to give up on this baby. This baby must survive today.
Long seconds passed when suddenly the tiny baby took a chance for life.
And the next thing we knew, the baby started breathing. We got a pulse back. The baby was pink.
And it was like, wow. The baby now is alive.
So everybody jumped. Everybody was very excited and happy. For me, I was very much excited to find the people who are so committed to do their work.
The miracle baby was flown to a pediatric ICU 30 kilometers away, where she fully recovered.
This baby is alive and healthy, and she has hands that can surround and warm and care for her. So it was actually a blessing to me as a newly qualified medic in the field.
If that little one is called miracle or blessing, it would be so fitting. If this team inspires you to live life at 100%, vote for them. Use the word Reflex, SMS it to 34020, or go to the Centrum Guardian website, the Mobi site, or Facebook. Remember, you have 10 votes for each finalist on each platform, and proceeds from the SMS votes will go to the base station of the person or team involved. Make a difference. Vote now.